Call the order of the City Council meeting for the City of East Grand Forks for Tuesday, March 21st, 2017. Executive Assistant, please call roll.
Mayor Steve Gander.
Here.
Council President Mark Olstad.
Here.
Council Vice President Chad Grassel.
Here.
Council Members Clarence Vetter.
Here.
Mike Pakshavinsky.
Here.
Tim Riopel.
Here.
Henry Tweeten.
Here.
Mark Demers.
Present.
Does term quorum, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Open forum and opportunity for members of the public to address the City Council on items not on the current agenda. Items requiring council action may be deferred to staff, boards, or commissions for research and future council agendas, if appropriate. If you would like to address the City Council, please come up to the podium to do so now. Does anybody want to address the council that's not on the agenda? Any items? Seeing none, move on to approval of minutes for the March 7th regular meeting.
Move.
Moved by Pakshavinsky, second by Vetter. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Riopel.
Yes.
Tweeten.
Yes.
Olstad.
Yes.
Grassel.
Yes.
Demers.
Yes.
Vetter.
Yes.
Pakshavinsky.
Yes.
Motion's carried. Scheduled bid lettings are none. Scheduled public hearings, there's none. Consent agenda, under the consent agenda will be adopted with one motion. However, council members may request individual items to be pulled from the consent agenda for discussion and action if they choose.
I'll move 2 to 6.
Does any council member like any items pulled? See none, Mr. Tweeden's moved on 2 through 6. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Riopel. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Riopel.
Yes.
Tweeten.
Yes.
Olstad.
Yes.
Grassel.
Yes.
Demers.
Yes.
Vetter.
Yes.
Pakshavinsky.
Yes.
Motion is carried. Acknowledge receipt of reports of officers, boards, and commissions. There are none. Communication, there's none. Old business, there is none. New business, number 7, consider approving the bid from Johnson Controls in the amount of $24,150 for the building automation system repair at the library to be paid for from the Community Development Block Grant Funds.
Move.
Moved by Tweeten.
Second.
Second by Mr. Pakshavinsky. Is there any discussion or comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Riopel.
Yes.
Tweeten.
Yes.
Olstad.
Yes.
Grassel.
Yes.
Demers.
Yes.
Vetter.
Yes.
Pakshavinsky.
Yes.
Motion is carried. Number 8, consider approving the request to increase the budget for flowers and shrubs for the pots, hanging baskets, and community gardens from $7,000 to $10,000 for the 2017 budget.
Move.
Moved by Grassel.
Second.
Second by Riopel. Is there any discussion or questions? Seeing none, roll call, please. Oh, excuse me, Mr. Vetter.
In light of the next item on the agenda, we're probably not even going to need to increase the line item budget. Second, I don't think it's council's position to look at individual line item budgets. I think we need to look at the budget as a whole. Line item budgets are the department head's responsibility. Department budgets are Mr. Murphy's responsibility, and the entire budget is our responsibility. Just because you go over on one line item doesn't mean we need to increase it. I think the department head's got the ability to work within their department on their budget, so I'm going to vote no on this.
Mr. Pakshavinsky.
I guess I'd concur and follow that up by challenging this community to step up and participate in this program to get involved with the beautification of the city, especially the business community. They've shown it in the past that they've rallied to support flowers, especially in the downtown area. So I'm going to vote no also, and I would predict that we will do the right thing.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Riopel.
Yes.
Tweeten.
Yes.
Olstad.
Yes.
Grassel.
Yes.
Demers.
No.
Vetter.
No.
Pakshavinsky.
No.
Motion is carried.
You do the right thing.
Number 9, consider adopting resolution number 17-03-19, implementing the beautification program for the city of East Grand Forks.
Move.
Moved by
Second.
Grassel, second by Mr. Pakshavinsky. Is there any questions or discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Riopel.
Yes.
Tweeten.
Yes.
Olstad.
Yes.
Grassel.
Yes.
Demers.
Yes.
Vetter.
Yes.
Pakshavinsky.
Yes.
Motion is carried. Consider adopting resolution number 17-03-20, amending the 2018 Transportation Improvement Program and using the funds for street reconstruction, sidewalk improvements, and mill and overlay, and installation of a hawk system.
Move.
Moved by Demers,
Second.
second by Grassel. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Riepel,
Yes.
Tweeten,
Yes.
Olstad,
Yes.
Grassel,
Yes.
Demers,
Yes.
Vetter,
Yes.
Pakshavinsky.
Yes.
Motion is carried. Number 11, consider taking action on the request to submit a reimbursement request to Water and Light Department for $107,539.90. I think we'll have discussion first on this, and then if there was a motion after discussion, we can have more discussion on that motion. Mayor Gander, do you have any comments on this?
I consider how we fund our projects inside the city, and I think it's okay to have a strategic difference of opinion on how we do these things. That's why we have 7 council members. We have myself, we have Mr. Murphy, we have Carla as our finance director, and it's probably okay that each one of us has a little different view. And it's probably important that we each have a little different view from the standpoint that we come from a different experience, different education, probably even a different sense of who ultimately we answer to. Of course, we all answer to the people, but we come from a little different angle in how we do that. So we're looking at our swimming pool, and our swimming pool is a beautiful project. We can agree upon that. It has turned out to be, I think, a better swimming pool than any one of us would have pictured. It's become a magnet for people from the campground. It's become a magnet for this whole region, both sides of the river, North Dakota, Minnesota, and it's something we can be proud of. And we look at how we got to where we are. We went back and you know, first we said, let's eliminate the pool. You know, there were some voices that said we don't need a pool. What's a pool? Well, a pool is a way to get kids outside in the summer. It's a way to teach kids how to swim. So they don't die if they fall out of their fishing boat someday with Grandpa. It's a whole bunch of things. It's a really nice thing. And so folks kind of from the grassroots, which is where all the good stuff happens, came along and said, let's put the pool back and let's make it better. And so that's what started to happen. There was local fundraising that spearheaded the whole thing, and which really also indicated what was the local support for this. And then there were a couple of larger grants that came in, and a nice arrangement with Water and Light that created the rest of the funding package. Along with that, that was a short-term funding, only to be worked out finally with a sales tax that made a lot of sense because it's a regional benefit, and so therefore to have a tax vehicle that's a regional tax vehicle makes a ton of sense. So now, here we are, exactly in that place. We have a note in place with the Water and Light. And that note is like a home mortgage. If you start to pay down your home mortgage and you call your mortgage company a year or 5 or 10 years later and say, look, I've noticed I've paid down the principal on my home mortgage. Could I have some of that back? I could use the money to buy a car. They'll just snicker and say, this is a home mortgage. It is not intended for that purpose. Go back to your bank, take out a home equity line of credit, do what you have to do, and then you can take a draw off your home equity using a separate, entirely separate financing vehicle for that purpose. And I think that's where we find ourselves now on the question of taking a draw. And that's just my opinion. I have come to that place from my own experience of borrowing money for real estate through the years. And if you needed some additional funds, you take out a line of credit, you refinance, and you know, you start a whole new mortgage with promissory note and closing costs and filing fees, and you do it again. And that's what you do if you need to take an additional draw on the equity in a property that has already a mortgage placed upon it. And for another day, we can talk about what we do with the 2 grants as it pertains to sales tax revenue and also the local fundraising portion. We can talk about that another day. But if you ask me, just from my own experience, from a strategic standpoint about taking an additional draw, I don't think that was the purpose of the Water and Light note, and I don't think it has any effect on the sales tax, because still those expenses, those front-end expenses that started before we had our arrangement with Water and Light, before we knew about it, before we really had put a total to those numbers, those are certainly funds that can be collected in the sales tax, as I understand it. It just doesn't have to go back right now against Water and Light. Those are my 2 cents.
Okay. My opinion on this is I will be voting no on it for a couple of reasons. You know, Mayor Gander, you say that maybe we can go back and later collect it from the sales tax. I know we've discussed it in the past here, but my thought is, let's say the $206,000 that was raised, and people that in this city, citizens that live in this town, gave money to that pool, and we paid down the note to Water and Light. We turn around later down. We had a dollar amount that was set up. This is going over $50,000 over the original amount. Okay, this is, even if you want to call it a line of credit in sheep's clothing, it'd be more considered to be a closed end, if anything. With that, I would think if we went back and did the $107,000 and then did the sales tax, we'd be going back twice on it, because we're re-advancing it back up after the citizens of this city went to fundraisers. Sabre Pool wrote grants, and Dave Baker got a grant from the DNR. I think going back, that would be going back against what the intent was.
So I can make it clear, so I didn't misspeak. I fully agree with that. The portion that came from grants and fundraising, we ought not to levy any sales tax against those dollars. That's the way I feel.
Thank you. So with that, I think that with the efforts that were made by the citizens to raise the money, we paid down, the original dollar amount was $1.8 million. I'm not going to get into the cents. SOP came in and worked with everybody. We went up to 2-1 with the understanding that that difference, we would go out and raise more money and come back and buy it to that, to get it back down to the 1.8. They are still going out, and there's still businesses that we know of that SOP has talked about saying that they'll donate money. And I'd hate to say that we went to this dollar amount, raised money, paid it down, then go back up, and we have to raise more money and keep raising money. I understand the sales tax doesn't come through. Hopefully that everything stars align, that there's no issues here at the Capitol in St. Paul. But I believe that we need to leave it the way it is. We can move on. We have a great pool. We have great citizens who helped raise the money, who stepped up, came and bought a hot dog or whatever they bought a wristband, whatever it was, swim day at the pool. I think that this is the way we should leave it, and I'm not going to vote for submitting the request. I don't know if anybody else has any comments. Does anybody in the audience have any comments? Mr. Demers.
Thank you. Just a second. I'm trying to write something down here. Okay. I guess to the idea that it's a loan or a revolving line of credit, I guess to me, it doesn't make a lot of difference about how it was administrated. I guess if it was just a note, we wouldn't have taken dispersals or there wouldn't have been payments throughout the process. I guess it would probably be most likely a new construction loan where you have a set amount, and as invoices come in, you pay those out. So
Closed-end line of credit.
right. So it is a line of credit, but it had an amount. It wasn't necessarily supposed to be revolving or what. I guess my point, I've switched my mind on this. I didn't fully understand it, I guess, at the beginning. I didn't really approve of how the transfers, it just didn't make sense to me. But as I look at it, and I said this in the work session, there were two things outside of just the construction of the pool that mattered to people and still matter to people, is that it was done, well, it's basically one and the same, is that it was done with a sales tax because property taxes are the #1 thing that we were concerned about after doing the pool, was we can't do this just by paying it through property tax. It's the #1 thing I hear on a regular basis from folks is property taxes are our #1 issue in East Grand Forks. To me, I understand the notion that if this dollar goes to the general fund versus the principal amount, are you really funding the pool, or are you funding something else that's in the general fund? Well, all funds are fungible, and you put $1 in any fund, in any account, it's not its own separate dollar. They're all in $1, and I've argued for a long time that what's in the Water and Light dollar fund, I mean, we try to keep them separate. They're very much the same as what's in the East Grand Forks city budget, because they're all paid out of the same pockets. So back to my point, I think that by asking for this money from Water and Light, which brings us, well, depending on if you go up to the 50,000 or 107,000, depending on whether you go to the loan amount, the original agreed upon loan amount, or the actual cost. What that does is it puts that money back, the dollars already spent by the city, back into the city's general fund, which buys down property tax, which is the biggest issue that we have today. I don't think it is against the spirit of any donation to do that, because that was the purpose of the donations and the project and the funding mechanism that was approved. So I guess I understand that people would feel like it isn't going to one specific thing, but I just can't dismiss the opportunity to lower the property tax burden on folks in the near term. Like we've talked about in the work session, you could do it on the back end of a sales tax, but that's 5 years out. And I think people are looking for property tax relief in the near term, especially after the last couple of years. So I'm going to vote to advance, or it's not even advance, it's reimburse this money from Water and Light. I would ask the Water and Light to increase that loan limit to the total cost of the project, and move that $100,000, which would buy 2.5% of property tax relief in the next year. Thank you.
Mr. Tweeden.
I'd like to make a statement. First of all, I've been involved with swimming pools since Louis Murray got the first one, and I helped get the second one with Leonard Driscoll. And it was a grant, basically. But one thing we recognize, I recognize it, because I've been involved in it most of my life, and that is, if we get people that help us, that raise money, we acknowledge that. That happened in this case. The pool committee to save the pool, they raised money. Our president raised some money from Grand Forks. Together with the pool people, we recognize this. But the one thing that we're doing, it's kind of like the dog chasing its tail, running around and around. We're wasting a lot of time on it. Let's take and start doing some things that we can make a better city out of it. We've got the money in the bank. The money came from the Water and Light Department, the extra money. There's $50,000 there. Let it all put in the bank, like he said. I'm not going to vote for this, if that's what you want for a vote.
Thank you. I guess I forgot one other thing. And I guess at the end of the day, if you vote against this, the result is you potentially shorten the sales tax term by whatever it takes to raise that other $100,000. No other real results to this. If you vote for this, you see a property tax reduction, potential property tax reduction next year, and you potentially, you would lengthen the sales tax term by that much more. So it's not, to me, the choice. I'd rather pay sales tax for a slightly bit longer and have that property tax.
Mr. Grassel.
I guess what I was under the understanding was the intention of the Save Our Pool was to get the money to pay down the loan. That I believe I was the one that said, if we don't do this thing the right way, we're never going to do it. We're just going to try to add pieces and add pieces. And that's why I was under the understanding that the money that they were raised was to go towards the pool construction, period. That's where I thought this whole thing was supposed to be. No question about an extra, wherever this money came from was sitting here somewhere. I think it's a slap in the face to those people if we go about it and put this money in our general fund. And yes, I understand, and yes, we've talked about taxes, but I don't think that people that went out, raised the money, wrote the grants, had any intention for it to go back into our general fund and sit. I think it was for the principle of the point of every little amenity that they added to the pool that we agreed upon at the time. So therefore that, I will not be voting yes on this.
One thing I'd like to add too on the comments about getting back into the general fund. We already know there's a wish list out there in 2017 of using that $107,000. So next year you're not going to see that savings in it. So, I mean, comments were made last week when we talked about the automation of the library. It's $24,000. Well, that, people right away, we can use that money. So there's no. I understand your comment, Mr. Demers, but no one's going to see that savings next year because it's already going to be spent already. Everybody's wish list already has, okay, we can do this and do this. So, but I get your point. I understand. Anyone else have any comments? Anybody from the audience have any comments? Mr. Pochowski.
This debate makes my head spin, but I would say what you could do if you restored this money to the general fund is just dedicate it to putting it towards the fund balance. It's one of our stated goals that we get our fund balance back, but I'm ambivalent about which way I'm going to vote.
Okay. Does anybody else have any comments?
Hello, my name is Melody Olstad. I'm a resident of East Grand Parks, and I obviously am with Save Our Pool. Not feeling very well today, so I've got my glasses on, Mr. Gander. I think there is something beyond what you're saying, Mr. Demers, that will affect this situation. We have put in place a plan when we first started out in 2012. Our plan was to originally raise awareness. That was the plan. We had a lot of little hot dog feeds. They didn't make a ton of money. They didn't make $100,000 of money. But what they did was they got people on board. And what they did was get us a grant for Bremer, which was $150,000. So that was our plan, to raise awareness, do fundraisers, have the events at the pool, and then continue to write grants. With the help of the Community Foundation, we've done that, and we want to continue to do that. The other piece that we were going to roll out is asking businesses for money. And one of the ways we were going to do that was by saying, if we do raise more money, your sales tax will be done sooner. How can we go and ask them to give money when we're just going to continue to draw off that loan? I was not under the impression we were going to have any other dollar amounts. The impression I was under was it was the 2.1 said and done. So now if I have to go out and ask people, and this gets out to people in businesses, they're going to say, I'm not giving you any money because the sales tax will continue. I think that this is a compact between what the community is expecting and you guys. They voted for the sales tax because, yes, it made way more sense than property tax. But this should not go on any longer than it has to. And if we ask our businesses, they've been very generous. They will support it, but not if we can count this as a line of credit and continue to draw on it. And I am very passionate about it because I don't believe that people put their time and effort into raising awareness than to just draw more money and put it back into the general fund. That was not the numbers that were sold to us. I think this should have been done way back when. And since it wasn't, I don't think it's fair to ask the community to keep paying sales tax because there was a mistake. Or I will not feel comfortable going out and asking people for money. So I will not be doing that. So I think that is the result of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have any comments? Or Mr. Demers?
Thank you, and you can come up. I guess the thing is that this isn't just backfeeding the general fund for no purpose either. There's been $107,000 that were spent on the pool on this project that the general fund deficit spent on this. So all this is backfilling that money that has already been spent. So it's not like we're saying, well, we're going to stretch out the cost of the pool and we're just going to ask for more money and finance that. What we're doing is saying, no, there was $107,000 that the city spent, and now we're asking for that back up front. So I guess I definitely understand your point, and asking people to go out and ask for money is a tough thing, but I don't think you should feel like you're lying to people or misleading them by saying that we're putting this money to it. I guess even if you did $50,000, which would bring you right up to what the original, or not even the original, but the second amount of, that would be exactly what, I mean, it's already in resolution form that we can already ask for $50,000. All we're really asking is just to say, right, we weren't right at the 2.18, it's actually 2.122. So let's get it all out, let's backfill, let's pay for everything that the city paid for, and then let's finance what we said we did. And to your point about, yes, you can shorten the sales tax period, but I don't know anybody, I haven't spoken to anybody that would choose higher property taxes over a slightly longer sales tax period. I guess everybody I talked to, it was all about property tax, not whether it was going to be 5 years and 2 months or 5 years. It really didn't, that wasn't an issue. So, but like I said, if we don't do it, it doesn't do anything to the project. It just doesn't allow us to
Mr.
reduce
President,
property tax.
This question may be for you or Mr. Murphy, and it may be for you, Carla. I don't think there has to be a connection between the ending of the property tax collection and the prepayment of the note to Water and Light. We're going to generate, you know, again, if it works well in the legislature, we're going to go to the property tax number equal to the project cost minus hopefully the grants given minus the private contributions given. That's the number. And if the debt is with the Water and Light, or if it's money that we've paid out of our general fund, is irrelevant. We can take that property tax number up to the max of what the legislation said, up to the dollar amount equal to, again, project cost minus grants, minus private donations, plus maybe some interest costs back to Water and Light. That's a fixed cost toward this project. And so whether or not we prepay Water and Light, I don't think is relevant to the question of when does property tax have to end.
You mean sales tax?
You mean
Sales tax. Sales tax.
Yeah.
Right, but the thing that people are missing here is that Water and Light didn't pay for the whole project. The city paid for $100,000 before the water.
So all I'm saying
So
is, whether
what
it's
we're saying
paid
is
early or late, it ends the same, as the sales tax goes to the dollar amount that we've agreed to, the actual cost of the project.
And I'll let you speak, Carla, but I want to address something with Mr. Demers. The original intent why this came back originally to the council was the fact that when it went before Water and Light, it was over the original amount.
By 50,000.
So they said, we will not take any action until it goes back to the council. And that's why it's back in front of us for discussion. Because they'd have to do a loan modification to go over to $50,000. And that's why it's here. Because
I'd like to make a statement. The Water and Light is financed the pool. That's the important thing to remember. It financed the pool. And the monies that come in reduce the obligation there. The Water and Light, thank God, has established reserves since a long period of time, and are operating as a bank for the city council. Simple as that.
Carla?
What I wanted to explain was exactly what you're talking about in the sales tax. And I'm sorry, I apologize for all this confusion on all this hassle it came about. And I know I was just trying to follow the accounting rules, which are confusing to people, and accounting rules that has to do with fixed assets. And so I took all the expenses that are tied to the pool, because that are the costs of the pool. So we can remedy this very easily, where there is $57,462.11 left on the loan if you looked at it as a loan. We can ask Water and Light for that amount. So we would not ask for the $50,000 for the grant. So when we put in for the sales tax, when the sales tax come in, I don't believe it's going to tell us where we have to pay first. So we can pay ourselves first for the $50,000. We can pay ourselves for any interest. And then we start paying on the loan for the Water and Light. And we will be paying interest on the loan for Water and Light until it's paid for. So we will have that continued expense, just like you said. So, you know, I don't want people to think we've overspent, we're trying to take people's money. I was just trying to find the accounting rules, what was best for the city as a financial steward for the citizens of East Grand Forks, both the Water and Light and the city of East Grand Forks. And I'm sorry if there was any confusion. But we could easily remedy this by taking the amount left on the loan, which is $57,000 and odd dollars, leave the $50,000 in the city's books for sales tax receivable. I've already talked to our auditors about this, which they believed it was a line of credit, but we actually sat down and figured out if it was not decided it was a line of credit, what we would do about it. So instead of the 107, we can actually ask for 57. Whatever the balance of the loan is, leave the $50,000 on the city's books, collect the sales tax for that, collect the sales tax for whatever the loan is and whatever the interests are. We will not collect sales tax for any donations because those are no longer a cost of ours anymore. So we will not go over the amount of sales tax. We will only pay for what is left on the project costs.
And when you say donations, you're including grants?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Anything that helped fund the project, any kind of match of funds that were not from us or sales tax.
Perfect.
From sales tax. Anything that came from other sources, we would not take the money for the sales tax for that. That would be double dipping. Absolutely not.
Just to clarify with you, Carla, too, is that, again, the reason why it's back here is because Water and Light asked us for the approval to go over the original, because they wouldn't do it.
Correct. And I spoke to him and explained to him
that's where
because
everything
I was...
started, was Water and Light at the meeting could not do it because it was over the original amount. So I'm just
Right.
letting everybody know that. That's why we went through this process.
Correct. And it wouldn't have been over the amount if we went and gave them the $50,000 check, which I voted. So everybody knows that. And I explained that to Water and Light on Thursday's meeting because I was not at the meeting. I apologize. And so there was confusion on that. I put that all in the statement. So, you know, a grant is a grant. The City of East Grand Forks received the grant for the City of East Grand Forks project. It was not Water and Light's project, but that's okay. We can remedy it by just taking the $57,000 off the water and light, pay the $50,000 back to ourselves, and then start paying the water and light loan.
$50,000 grant from DNR was requested written out and applied for the construction of the pool by Dave Baker.
Correct.
So
And the
just
city
so-
of East Grand Forks
Just so you know,
has
I mean,
the project. It's our project. It's not the Water and Light project. Water and Light is just like the bank. They're the bank. And that's all it is.
Mr. Vetter.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't see our request of 107 going over the original loan amount that was approved by Water and Light. I look at it as a return of the $50,000 that we gave them that we shouldn't have given them in the first place, and then the 57 and change brings us up to the original amount of the loan. I also agree with Mr. Demers that we owe the citizens, we need to pay ourselves back first, or we're going to go into the next budget process saying our general fund is only at 26%, and we need to raise property taxes again to get our general fund back up again, and I'm not willing to do that. The $107,000 that we're requesting goes to our general fund, so when we get into the next budget process, we've got an accurate figure on what our general fund is. We need to pay ourselves back first.
For bills that were back from 2012, you're stating it says 2017 today, and so you're stating, okay, just want to make sure it's on record, the 2012 bills that were what, $80-some thousand?
Was a cost of the pool. We need to reimburse
But
ourselves
I'm just
first.
saying it's 2017, next year's 2018. It's not, you know, I can go back and ask, if I built a house in 2005 and all of a sudden the city did a reimbursement in 2017, can I come back and ask for that reimbursement of $5,000?
If you started engineering and all that in that year, sure.
No.
And I'm sorry, that's the accounting rules, and that's what the auditor said. Yes, that is correct. That is part of the project costs, which would be the same as if, for the roundabout. If we decide to go with the roundabout, that $25,000 that we spend now is a project cost, and we have to keep track of that.
Mr. Gander.
And still, it's within the realm of this council's ability to decide if it wants to leave those dollars there, have the note end a bit sooner, as to create a positive scenario on the back side of it. That would be well within the context of this group's ability to decide that as well.
Any other questions or comments?
I
Seeing none, go ahead, Mr. Norris, if you have another comment.
I was going to make a motion.
Okay, thank you. Those was my questions going to be.
I move to request or a submission of reimbursement to the Water and Light Department up to $2,122,529, which is the, I believe not the original, but the second amount, correct?
That's the $57,000 and change, not the whole 107.
Right. Is that right, Carla? The $5,122,529 is the original agreed upon.
$2 million.
$2 million, sorry. Don't want to cut ourselves short.
Can't add an extra $3 million in there.
Right, and then I think you guys can decide what you want to do with the grant, or if you want, you already talked about that, but I mean, just, that can be a separate issue or whatever. I'm just saying, if we want to just go up to that, up to the 57. Is that clear, or clear enough, Megan?
Subtract 50 from the dollar amount that's on the sheet.
I don't know what he's talking.
I said up to, so
Yeah.
whatever.
Is there a second on Mr. Demers' motion?
Second.
Better seconds. If there's any other discussion?
Yeah.
Mr. Gander?
One little bit. I don't know how this one's going to go. I don't know how the vote's going to go, but I do want to say it was never, ever the intent of anyone that I know to take the total cost of the pool and looking at the amounts that people have donated, individuals who gave dollars or tens of dollars or hundreds of dollars or grants of $50,000 or $150,000. There was never an intent to add a sales tax to, in addition to those amounts that have been donated. And any additional amounts donated will absolutely come off the sales tax. Because that's our commitment. And Carla made it crystal clear, we'll never, ever, ever duplicate a funding source against the total of this project. So that's never been in play. We appreciate every dime, every dollar that folks have donated, and every one of those dollars will offset the sales tax that we collect to cover the costs of this.
Well said.
Anybody else have anything? Not, I'll ask for roll call. Roll call, Megan, please.
Riepel,
Yes.
Wheaton,
Yes.
Olstad,
No.
Grassel,
Yes.
Demers,
Yes.
Vetter,
Yes.
Pakshavinsky.
Yes.
Motion's carried. Consider authorizing the city administrator, clerk, treasurer to issue payment of recommended bills and payroll.
Move.
Second.
Third comment, Mr. Pakshavinsky?
No.
Mr. Demers, you made a motion?
I made a second. I think Clarence made the motion.
Mr. Vetter made the motion.
Roll call, please.
Riepel,
Yes.
Wheaton,
Yes.
Olstad,
Yes.
Grassel.
Yes.
Demers,
Yes.
Vetter,
Yes.
Pakshavinsky.
Yes.
Motion's carried. Mayor Gander.
Tune in to those of you out in the cyber world, 6:30 right back here. We'll talk about the golf course. Looking forward to that. And a week from now, hopefully we'll make a decision on how we might go forward in that one. That's all I have.
Mr. Vetter.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a shout out to our figure skaters having their annual show this weekend. So if you're bored and looking for something to do, it's Saturday night and Sunday. Come out and watch them skate. Thank you.
Pakshavinsky.
Nothing tonight.
Mr. Riepel.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Wheaton. Mr. Demers.
Nothing tonight. I brought popcorn if anybody wants to have some in between the meetings.
Mr. Grassel.
I'm good.
Mr. Murphy.
I just have one item. I was contacted today from the U.S. Coast Guard in Mobile, Alabama. They have a captain that is going to be retiring there in June, and he spent some time up here and was a part of the flood prevention, or the flood fight of '97, and so they're requesting, they're going to send a United States flag. They would like us to fly it over City Hall here for a day, and then we're going to ship it to the Capitol. Well, they'll fly it over the Capitol, and then they will present it to him upon his retirement. So I did offer to say that we will fly it more than one day, because hopefully, just knowing the weather up here, we might want to make sure that we get a picture of it on a nice day. We can't guarantee that in one day, so.
Anything else?
Nope.
Mr. Gulstead.
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Mr. Emery. Anything from the department heads? Seeing
Mr.
none.
President, sorry, one more
Yeah.
thing. I did receive a call from Pete Haga today of the Mayor's Office of Grand Forks, and there will be a quiet gathering on the 22nd at, I think the time will be noon, along the banks of the river, commemorating 20 years of the flood. No big program, but a quiet gathering. We'll probably have just a little time to catch up and visit, and you'll hear more about that. So Saturday, the 22nd at noon, along the banks of the river. Really, if nothing else, to celebrate the great partnership that's formed between the two cities over these last 20 years. And sure, it was there before that too, but it really, really has shined in these 20 years since the flood. Thanks, Mr. President.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Ooh.
Moved by Demers.
Second.
Second by Grassel. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Meeting is adjourned.
North Dakota.
Okay.
passed. Postcard station.
There's a puddle between here and Canada that's a coast, right?